5 miles north of Matlock, on the busy A6, lies the village of Rowsley. It is situated on the border of the Peak District National Park and is at the point where the River Wye flows into the River Derwent and prospered from mills on both. Rowsley was the site of an extensive motive power depot and marshalling yard, the first being built by the Manchester, Buxton, Matlock and Midlands Junction Railway, with a railway station designed by Joseph Paxton in 1849. This was replaced by a new station when the line was extended northwards in 1862. The original station became a goods depot until 1968, when it was used as a contractor's yard. It then became the centrepiece of a shopping development known as Peak Village, still open today. Rowsley South is the current northern terminus of the preserved heritage railway Peak Rail and is located about a quarter of a mile south of the village itself. A major attraction in Rowsley for visitors is Caudwell's Mill. It is a unique Grade 2 listed, historic, water turbine powered roller flour mill. Powered by water from the River Wye, one or more mills have stood on this site for at least 400 years. The present mill was built in 1874 by John Caudwell and run as a family business for over a century, before closing in 1978. The mill was then purchased by a charitable trust and has been operated by the trust for over 40 years. At Caudwell's mill, grain was milled by the same process used at the giant modern mills, which now provide most of the flour for our bread, but here production was on a scale and at a speed that is both easier to understand and which did not damage the flour. What a change in the weather compared to 2 days ago. It had reached the 20s, but now it's sort of gone down by 10 degrees. I mean, it's not cold, but it's a real contrast to what it was in only a couple of days. And over the weekend, it's supposed to be getting even colder, so we shall see. But it's not unpleasant today. Nice day for a walk. So, as I say, it's the 2nd of April, 2021, and I've come here to Rowsley. This is where the River Wye flows into the River Derwent. Now, this River Wye is not to be confused with a certain other River Wye. This River Wye actually starts the other side of Buxton, flows down through Bakewell, and then ends here at Rowsley where it flows into the Derwent. So my walk starts and ends here in Rowsley today. From Caudwell's Mill, I crossed the A6 to Church Lane, passing the Grade 2 listed Peacock Hotel. It was originally built in 1652 as a manor house by John Stevenson, agent to Lady Manners, whose family crest bearing a peacock gives it its name. Both Longfellow and Landseer are said to have stayed here. I continued along Church Lane, passing a well where annual well dressings take place in Rowsley. Just along from here is the village shop and post office. St Catherine's Church is a Grade 2 listed parish church. The foundation stone was laid in May 1854 by John Manners, 7th Duke of Rutland, who laid coins of every value, from the sovereign to half a farthing in the foundations. The church was dedicated to St Catherine, after the name and in honour of the late Lady Manners. The lane was quite steep as I climbed out of Rowsley, but I was rewarded with the views down the valley behind me. As the lane deteriorated into a track, it swung right, then left before levelling out for a while. Yeah, it's certainly turning out to be a beautiful day. Probably have to take another layer off soon. Seen lots of walkers around today, lots of mountain bikers. Just feels like things are starting to get back to normal again because of the slight easing of lockdown now. But as I say, I don't want to be too complacent. I just think being out in the fresh air here is the best place for everybody. You know, as long as people do keep their distance. But I think the fresh air is the safest place, but then I would say that, wouldn't I? Just saw a friend of mine from work back there. Paul lives in Bakewell. Nice to see him. I've not seen him for a while, but he's enjoying the sunshine and just doing a circular walk from his home in Bakewell. But, yeah, it's one thing though, I find that it's lovely coming out here today because I can't remember the last time I did this particular walk, but it's been some years. And as I was saying, having done sort of a lot of walks in other parts of the UK in recent years, you know, I just feel I really need to get back and do more in the Peak District. Say, apart from the cost and stuff, because, you know, cost of accommodation and travel to go to these other places, there's so much to see where I can just visit in a day from my own doorstep. So, but I think one of the reasons why I've travelled further afield in more recent years is because I live and work in the area. You tend to lose a little bit of appreciation of it. It's not that I don't like the Peak District anymore, but because I'm travelling all over the area for work, I've always got my work head on, so it's not quite the same. It's like today I thought, oh, I know I've got to come around this area soon to look at this job, and you don't really switch off. So, I mean, you do switch off a little bit when you, as it's, you know, obviously I'm not working today, but, you know, probably next week or the week after when I'm travelling around this area again for work, you know, all I'm doing is focusing what jobs I need to do. So although I think, oh, it's lovely here, you know, lovely driving through this part of the Peak District, you don't appreciate it the same when you've got your work head on, because you really don't switch off the same. So, anyway, I'm going to be 55 next month. I'd love to retire if I could, but I can't afford it. You know, if I could finish work tomorrow, I would do, but there you go. Keep dreaming, eh? I found myself climbing again as I made my way upwards through the woods. At the top, the gradient eased again as the path ran along the boundary between the Haddon and Chatsworth estates. Coming out into more open country, the path swung right to head through the trees to a stile. Well, I'm really starting to get the best views of the day now. I was greeted with a grand panorama of Chatsworth Park, and could see the Russian cottage on the near hillside, with the hunting tower in the distance. That's lovely. As I said earlier, it's been years since I've done this particular walk, and you sort of just forget how beautiful it is. So doing this walk again after so long, it's like a reminder of how beautiful the area is. It really is. Heading downhill across Calton Pastures, I crossed Carlton Lees brook to a gate, where I turned right to follow a path beside the trees. Passing through another gate, I walked down a narrow walled lane through the picturesque hamlet of Calton houses. After about 3/4 of a mile, my steady stroll down the track led me to Calton Lees, another Chatsworth estate hamlet. Heading straight on would lead me to Chatsworth Garden Centre, beyond which Chatsworth House can be reached. For now, I was happy to just make a leisurely stroll around the beautiful Calton Lees.
Hello. Hello.
Looks like they're having a sulk and ignoring me.
Hello.
They know that I've got no food for them, that's why. Well, it's nice to meet you anyway. Yeah, Calton Lees is a really beautiful little settlement. Well, if I go that way, that'll take me towards Chatsworth House, but I think we'll save Chatsworth for another time. So my way is along the path back towards Rowsley. Just see the River Derwent at the bottom there. This path will be following the Derwent now back to Rowsley. On the other side of the river, that's the village of Beeley. Another pretty village that, like Calton Lees, is owned by the Chatsworth estate, so again, I'll visit that another time too. Moving on, my last stretch of the walk was relatively easy, as I followed the waymarks of the Derwent Valley Heritage Way. The path headed south on the west side of the River Derwent. I'm heading back into Rowsley now, so I'm at the end of my walk. And it's been another lovely walk. What's been particularly great today, I think, it's not been that strenuous, it's just over 5 miles. And the bonus really has been the fact that the weather has been gorgeous. I knew it was going to be dry today, but I wasn't expecting all this sunshine. They said it was going to be cloudy with the odd bit of sun breaking through the cloud, but it's been glorious today, so I cannot complain at all. And it's also been nice to see lots of other people around as well. It is Good Friday, and I know that although schools have only been back a short while, but they've broken up again now for the Easter holidays. But it's just been nice to see lots of other people around enjoying the Peak District today, because for me that's a kind of reassurance in a way that things are slowly getting back to normal again.